Yes.
Well, thank you, Marina, very much for your time. It's a pleasure to talk with you. My name is Maximiliano Luna. I'm co-director of Música Clásica Va and Música Clásica 3.0, which means classical music 3.0. This is now a classical digital magazine, and we
Ah,
also have our website and social networks. We used to have a printed magazine, uh, this is the printed
yes.
one, but
Ah,
now
big.
we are doing it digital. So
Like everyone, like everybody, we are all online and we are all virtual.
Robert. Well,
Yes.
it gives us this opportunity to do these kind of things. So that's
It's
the good
important.
part. That's the
It's
good part.
important. Yes.
Well, let me start. I know you have an interview after this, so I get started. Uh,
Not in a hurry, don't worry, because we have a whole hour.
okay. Uh, well, of course, I wanted to know, when did you discover? You never knew your grandfather, but when did you discover who he was and the importance of his music and his legacy?
Well, I was very lucky. I mean, my mother was not lucky because he
Mhm.
died when she was 6. So obviously, I never met him except through things she told me. And my discovery, luckily for me, was later in life to know the extent, the magnitude of who he was, the weight of who he was, and the music itself. Because I had my childhood next to my mother, who was an artist as well. She was a sculptor, a wonderful stone sculptor. But I did not have the weight of history on my head because I grew up mostly in far, far away from Vienna, and also went early to boarding school. So I actually heard the music quite late. And the first realization I had of being family, oddly enough, was hearing that his favorite book had been The Brothers Karamazov of Dostoevsky. And while being a teenager, it was my favorite book.
Mm.
So I suddenly felt this overwhelming link with this person who was my grandfather. And then I slowly listened to music. It wasn't played so often then, so it was not so possible to hear it. And then the music became slowly very important to me, and also the character of him as a man, as a human being.
And your grandmother was also an exceptional person. Uh, you knew her, and
Oh
what
my
are your
God.
memories about her?
Well, I knew Alma from the age of 7, you know, and I met her when I was 7 with my mother. We went to live with her in Beverly Hills in California for a very short time because then I was sent to boarding school. But I remember her vividly, and she was larger than life, very luminous, very beautiful. And so I had a very positive impression, just from a child's point of view, because children usually love beauty. They're attracted to beauty. So I thought she was very beautiful. Yeah, I got to know her better later when I would visit her when she left California, went to live in New York. And then I would either go with my mother or I went alone to stay with her. But my first impressions were rather magical.
Do you know why did she stop composing?
Yes, I mean, she was asked to by her husband. She was asked to stop composing by Gustav before they married. He wrote her that famous letter and said that it would be ridiculous to have two composers in the same family. And I'm asking you to marry me and to give up everything only to make me happy and to let me compose completely. So she had a talk with her mother, who advised her not to marry him. She said, "You can't marry him because he can't ask such a thing of you." And in the end, romantically, she thought, well, if I do this, I am sacrificing myself to somebody who is, after all, a very great conductor and also a composer. She took it on herself, and in those days, women did such things.
And
They,
after
yeah.
his death, why she didn't do
Well,
that?
then it was more difficult because all the time they were together, she did none of it, and she was out of that inner world. And she could have gone back, but then she had a whole life, and then another man, and then, you know, there was a lot going on that was very passionate and very intense around her, and she was already a mother and had lost one child, you know. And then slowly her life evolved. When she was writing, she was a young girl, and she had her own life to herself, her time to herself, until she met Mahler, and then when he asked her to marry him. So it was already a different person in a way. I think a different human being, a different person, a different woman. But she always, I think, regretted it. But I think that the songs are actually very lovely.
Yes,
That
I was listening to them recently because, of course, I know Mahler's music, and I knew that Alma had a lot of music, but I really didn't listen it before as much as I did these recent days, and it was really beautiful, very nostalgic and melancholic
yes,
music.
yes, I think so too. I mean, it's a pity she didn't write more. But now there are many people who have orchestrated them, and who want to do more performances. And there will be one, in fact, in Marseille, not far. And they've made a film of her with it and with the music, and asked me to narrate it. And it's quite moving. You can never tell people when they've gone to other worlds what's happening in this world, which is a shame. Because the same thing, it would be wonderful to be able to speak to my grandfather. I mean, if I could choose anyone going back in time, it would be with him, and to be able to tell him certain things. And the same with her. It meant a lot to her, I think, you know.
What would you say to your grandfather if you could talk to him or ask?
Oh my God. I think I would, the conversation would be around life and death, certainly. He would have died, and he would know what it's all about. So I would ask him first and foremost about that, you know. And, you know, he had no time to look back. He had no time to reflect on his life before, because it was so quickly gone. Did he regret? Did he not regret? I think he would have regretted nothing. I'm only terribly sad that he died before he finished the 10th Symphony, which I think must have been the most difficult thing for him after the death of his daughter, Maria. You know.
You were born in a very artistic family. Well, your grandfather, your grandmother, but also your mother and your father. Did you ever think being an artist yourself?
So I've been writing what I call fragments since I've been very small, a child. And I think that if anything is to come out, it will come out in my last years. We'll see. You know, you can't imagine how one judges oneself very severely, of course, coming from such a family.
As a child, you took piano lessons, and I read that you played pretty well.
Yes, and the flute. But when I went to boarding school, it didn't progress. I was 7. It didn't progress so well after that because the teachers were not. It was a boarding school which didn't focus on music, and so it was, you know, I was in the chorus. Nothing developed as it could have. But I went for a long time, for many years, to boarding school. You know?
I don't know if you want to talk about it, but was that a hard time for you, your childhood?
Oh, my childhood was wonderful. I mean, my childhood was very unusual. my mother was quite convinced that she had read correctly Montessori, the wonderful Italian educator. And so when I was 3, she was utterly convinced that I was fully formed. And then from then on, she let me make my own decisions. Say, what do you want? You know, you are grown up now. You decide. And then first time I went away when I was 3 for 3 months to a camp in Cornwall when she went to America. But it was the most wonderful time of my life, really, opening my world to the world of nature, the sea, the countryside, farmland, trees, animals, chickens, horses, little snails, little crabs, mainly the sea, which was so amazing. So, and also I lived next to her as if we were friends, you know, which is also a wonderful experience. Wonderful experience. So I have no, you know, children live what they are born into, and each child has his or her own surroundings, and you either embrace it or you run from it, you know. And I had nothing to run from. It was very interesting, and it threw me on myself, on my internal world, I would say, which is, I think, always a good thing. So I was very self-reliant and very solitary, but happily so, as I always have been, you know. So I think I was lucky.
Let's come back now to present time. What is the objective of the Mahler Foundation?
It's very important because I formed it to have the concept of taking Mahler beyond, I would say, beyond the concert hall, beyond the limited, privileged group of people who are able to pay to enter a concert hall, and the idea that we wanted to reach out much further to many more people and many more groups of people, different continents, because I have realized something all these years growing up, and especially after my mother died, when everybody reached out to me about Mahler, that the music itself can touch everyone from every possible culture and every age possible. And also it can be transformative. That is what art can do at its greatest. And so my thought was, if we can use this to reach out to all people possible, but especially young people, and give them something to sustain, you know, this inner life, which because of things going so quickly these days and everything is skimmed on the surface, people often don't know their inner lives because they have no time to explore it. But if you are moved by something, this can take you into your inner life suddenly, and you can discover something suddenly from emotion. And also now it's was very important for my grandfather, nature. He considered himself the singer of nature. And for me, this is huge because we live in a time where we are given 10 years maximum to reverse the bad behavior and bad treatment that we have done of the planet for the last at least 50 years. And if we don't, we will be living in a very different world. And so I thought the Song of the Earth, Das Lied von der Erde, of my grandfather is a good starting point for people who love his music, then to try and reach out to people who don't know it, as a battle cry, if you like. Reaching out, it's a concept. And so far we have several groups of people. This would be an ongoing concept, not a finite one-off festival or expression, but it is to awaken groups of people. It can be a filmmaker, it can be an orchestra, it can be children in a musical group, or actors, or it can be any media, any medium, any art or science, or also literature, medium that you like, film, to take it as a starting point, the music, the emotion, as a starting point to create a whole new thing. This should be, the seed for many inventions which can turn the tide, which can, in a big way, reach out to people worldwide to wake them up, if you like. So I would like to reach out to this lovely young lady who is walking with all the children, and who is so extraordinary, who has been speaking everywhere, and at the moment nobody's listening because everyone is so intent on COVID, but COVID is an outcome of our treatment of the planet, which we have been given, which is so amazing. So I am wanting to use this huge emotional weight and depth and outreach, which my grandfather's music has, to move people to action of all different kinds. Some for themselves, to wake up to themselves, but it's a wonderful prime mover.
Talking about this particular time that we're living, how are you living through this pandemic time as a person, as a human, in a human level and professional level?
Well, as I mentioned, I am quite a happy, solitary person. So, and I'm also very fond of the internet as well. All these possibilities like Zoom and Skype and everything, I find very, very natural and organic. And I am very lucky that I'm in the countryside, but I'm very aware that it's hugely transformative for most of the world, because most of the world cannot be in a countryside. They can't look out and see trees. They're in small, locked in very small apartments where they perhaps have nowhere to go out, or they can go out once a day. And people are very frightened. And I'm only hoping that this fear and anxiety will lead to a rethink in society as a whole about how we are living, and that we cannot go on having the inequality at such a level as we have now in the world, because this will accentuate it, and there will have to be social unrest, but not only coming from people, but coming from the land and the sea. And we will have many, many, many more migrants than we have now. We will look back to now as a kind of paradise, and we will be stupid and forever damned, really, if we don't wake up. So I think it's a wake-up call, the COVID. And as for myself, it gives me hours and hours to work on whatever I want to work on, which is a lot. So for me, it's very important. I have long hours, long work hours. I can concentrate. I send things out. I have meetings. I can make videos. I can speak to people and be in touch with the people that I love, my family as well. And so I don't feel cut off as such, but I know that everybody does. And that we are used to being able to hug people and walk in the streets without a mask. And I'm wondering when on earth this time will come back, but I think we are never going back. We are going future. And in the future, we will be thinking, I think, in a different way on many levels and about many things. And we have to.
Do you think we're going to learn something about this?
Yes, I do. I know I have a lot of friends who are more not so optimistic as I am, but I think that it's unavoidable. Because we keep seeing around us the effects, and more people are finally after 50 years that we knew about climate change and knew about all this. It's finally sinking in because people are suffering more and more from it. And those people suffering are coming more into our radar because we've been very lucky living in the Western world. But I think we should wake up that we are not the only part of the world.
What do you think can be the role of the arts and music?
Huge. I believe in that. I believe that it has a huge role to fulfill. And I am now linking with other arts institutes and foundations and artists in general, and we are talking and we are having a back and forth talk how to link together, because it's very important to link together because there is strength in numbers, and also how to best reach out now. I mean, if I have to say this, if the extreme right can go on social media and get together the amount of money and the amount of people to upset society as they are doing now worldwide, then why can't we do it for something positive? We can, and we must. This is my feeling and my belief, and we will.
What can you tell us about the Mahler competition?
It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. I started it with Ernest Fleischmann and Paul. Now I've had a blank, but in Bamberg, Müller, at the time in 2004, and our first winner was Gustavo Dudamel, who is such a lovely person and artist. And we have never stopped. We have had the most wonderful winners, and it is a very special experience as a competition. We invite usually about 12 to 14 young people after listening to over 200 applicants. And even those who, it goes in stages, who drop out, we invite them to stay, because people meet, they make friendships, they make musical and other friendships, and they learn from each other. And so then we have 3 prizes, first, second, and third prize. And it's humanly a wonderful place to be. And people do make friends, which last. And there is a feeling of intimacy, and it lasts. It goes on and on, this feeling, and people come back, and we stay in touch and stay friends. And when somebody has won, then they meet people through us so that they can reach out for their professions.
You said that a contest can transform life even for people who don't win first prize. What can you tell?
Yes, because look, it's well known that sometimes, even sometimes, the wrong person wins first prize, and it could be the second prize person. But I think it's wonderful. Everyone who is there is followed afterwards. We stay in touch. And I've had so many contacts from these people who, whether it's first, second, third, or other, it's meant a lot to them to be there, because it's a learning process as well. They are able, not easy for a very young conductor to conduct such a magnificent orchestra. So just the fact of being there and having that rehearsal time and having the feedback from the orchestra itself, the players, and all of the jury members, as we are many and we care about these young people. So it's a lesson in itself, you know.
What do you think young artists need to make a career in this super competitive world?
Oh, they need a lot of love. They need a huge amount of inner energy. And I just think they mustn't go into it with the purpose of being a success. They have to go into it with being the best that he or she can be in himself or herself as such. but, and the rest comes afterwards, but not to want to be a success. But it's difficult, and you have to really love what you're doing. And now especially, I know how many musicians and actors and people in all the arts are out of work. So it's really tough. It's really tough. My feeling is governments should understand better what an important aspect of governance is culture, and their culture of now. That means artists who are alive today, and they should give much more sustenance to these artists, because these are the people who will be important for them later on. They bring hope, they bring beauty, and the culture of a country is its history, its real history, not the wars. It's the history they want to stay with, they want to explore, you know. It's the better part of a people, is its culture, is its art. And so I think that they need to be sustained. Every government should think again. And now, during this hard time, give much more money to all the arts and single artists. This is very important for the future of the country.
And what can we do to convince governments and also businessmen of the importance of collaborating with artists, music, painters, etc.?
Well, I think first we have to attract them. We have to entice them. We have to seduce them with the beauty and the impact of what they are listening to. I mean, for instance, somebody like Gorbachev loves Mahler. I mean, it doesn't, there are no boundaries between who loves what. There are many people who are in business who love certain painters or music or whatever. We need more, like a spider web. We need more contacts. We have to reach out. And I think that by invitation, now our main possibility for communication is internet. And I think we have to find new ways to make an impact, to reach out. I'm thinking every day now about this and talking with certain filmmakers. And so talking, how can one reach beyond one's own natural group of people? Because it's not enough to talk to people who are convinced already. You need to go beyond your safety net. And that's the most important thing now, is how to reach beyond. But I think there are ways. There are ways. Because obviously, come back again to this crazy phenomenon of the extreme right. They are linked worldwide on a network, an underground network, which is not stopped by, it's on social media. And, we have these underground passages. So why the hell have we not, in the more positive world, made use of these new ways of communicating? We need to do that more. We need to link with the people who are brilliant in tech. We need to meet and speak with the tech geniuses and say to them, listen, you can play a role here for humanity, which is open for you. Work with us. Do this. We need to cross these lines. We need to do that more. We need to find ways to do that. And thinking all the time, and if anyone has any thoughts of this, please give them my email.
Well, we do.
No, really, because we are listening. We are listening to everyone. And there will be people who have ideas. And it just may not be in our, path. But I want to know, because we need to know, right? We need to know. It is possible.
Yes, I think it's difficult, but it's possible.
Yes, it's possible. We have to begin it.
In a few days, on January 23rd, you will give a talk at the Portillo Festival in Chile on how music has influenced your life. Can you give us a little advance of the talk?
No, you know what I would like to do? I would like to talk about the Portillo Festival and
Okay.
about Alejandra Urrutia, who is the most wonderful conductor and human being. And I stand 100% with her, behind her, for all that she is doing and has done. And her concerts for Brotherhood and for all these things, and also the International Music Festival, are exactly the kind of Mahler Beyond and Music Beyond that we should be thinking of more. The concert she did in this huge train station with 5,000 to 6,000 people of the Resurrection Symphony during a time of demonstrations, dangerous time of demonstrations and real anxiety and upheaval for the country, is exactly what should happen. And I admire her and find her courage and beauty absolutely extraordinary. So she has my support for life. And so I will speak for her in this Portillo and whenever she asks me, because she has the right idea how to reach out with music. That is how to use music. Just what she did. And at the end of the concert, you know, it was our vice chairman, Francisco Bricio, was there. And he wrote to me, he said, Marina, this is about to happen. Will you make a video for me? So I sat here and made on my little iPhone, you know, I made a video, which then I sent to him and he transposed it, and then she could put it on the screen there at the concert. And I felt so proud and moved to be able, to be privileged to be a part of such a thing, of this beautiful performance that she worked for 6 months on. I think this must be known, and it's very special, it's very rare. And I would like to see more of that, and whichever people will be doing that, I will be there for them.
How would you describe Mahler's music for someone who doesn't know it?
Ooh, earthquake. It could be like an earthquake because it hits you. You know, you may listen to it and you may not know Mozart or Beethoven or anything, Bach, but suddenly this music comes at you, and then suddenly you have the chamber-like, heart-rending, more like chamber music within the framework of the whole of the huge sound, which really touch you, and then suddenly the explosion. Sometimes this changes a life. That's what I think about great art and art in general. It can change lives, meaning it can change people's feelings inside themselves, how they want to behave, be, you know, things that are inspirational change one. And that's what we're here on the earth for. To be, I think, to change, to alter, to open up, to go to another level. I think that's our meaning here on earth.
Your grandfather said that a symphony must be like the world. How do you think a symphony would be if he wrote it now, in this world, in this time?
Oh, it could be amazing. I mean, the world at any moment, no matter how much in turmoil or whatever, look at it. It's extraordinary, our world. You know, you go anywhere, you're in a thunderstorm, you have the thunder and lightning everywhere, you have the trees and the wind and the sea, and you know, I mean, it's wild. Or it's soft and gentle, but it's everything. It's still everything. The world can still be composed, all of it, in one piece of music. I'm always looking for young composers who will do this. It's possible, and it will happen.
You come from a family where women were and are very important. Do you think this is the century of the women?
Yes, I think it's the beginning of the century for the women. It's the beginning, because we're not there yet. It's really just beginning. And I think it's a very important part of humanity. It's half of humanity is female kind, is woman. And a woman has so much to give, every bit as a man. It is the counterpart, you know. It's, I would say, the female as opposed to the male, whether it's in a man, a woman, or the choice that people make of their sexual lives. I think that male and female are hugely important. They are elementals in nature, and they must out, and they deserve respect, which is only beginning to show now. It's not nearly enough. There is so much fear, and fear breeds anger and violence. And women suffer that fear. They suffer the result of the fear, which is the violence. And that's a terrible thing. The only thing worse is violence to children. That's the worst thing on earth.
What are your upcoming projects?
The Song of the Earth for me. And I'm hoping that we will manage in the future to animate and reanimate Mahler in Vienna, where he was. And there's a wonderful project which I can't speak of at the moment, which means a lot to me. There's a very great artist who has made a very generous gesture of a gift which will happen, but only when it really is happening, then I can go to the press, and then I will speak to you again, if you like.
Of course.
But it's important for me, the Song of the Earth now. And we are working hard at it. It's just beginning. We are reaching out for partners. And that for me is very vital, you know, because it's so important. The more we read, the more we see, we know how important it is. I would like humanity to go on. I have a daughter, I have a grandson. They mean everything to me. And so, as people's children and grandchildren do, and I don't want them to inherit the earth which is ruined, where they have to fear nature, which is so wonderful. I just can't bear the thought. So I think this is one of our major preoccupations, but it is also humanitarian, because the amount of people who will be dispossessed and without homes if we let this happen in nature is phenomenal. And that can't be allowed to happen. Already we have huge disproportion between rich and poor. And that is also going to be more and more prevalent also after COVID, and it can't go on. There will be a certain moment people will not be able to stand it anymore. You know, it's not, it's totally unjust, and it's, I don't know how it got so bad. You know, we have a lot to do. There's a lot to do. And it's up to us now in 10 years. We have 10 years to act. And we have to act, every single one of us, in any way we can. To get it out there, to speak about it, to speak with people, to interview people who know what's happening. And so, but to get it out to as many people as possible.
Well, I want to thank you very much for your time. We are running out of time now. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Me too. Thank you.
I know I have a lot of questions and things that I would like to talk, but I think in the future when we can do another interview, of course. And it's something you want to say to public in Argentina. I would like if you can say greetings for people in Argentina who loves Mahler music.
Yes. I mean, I have never been there, but my father went very often. He was a conductor, Anatol Fistulari. And and I know it's such a beautiful country. I would just like to say so much love. And I'm thrilled with the idea of Argentina and South America, and the fact that we are all one person, basically. We are all one people. We just have to get to know other parts of oneself, you know, and this is another part of myself, which I don't know. So I would like to know better. And I would like to know that when we develop this, maybe I can reach out to you and that you can share this with your audience again when we are further along in what we plan and what we hope to do. I would love that if that's possible.
Of course, we would really like that. So
Yeah,
you
would be
can
wonderful.
write to me. You have now my email, so
Do,
whenever you want,
and you
we
have
will,
mine.
of
Yeah,
course, we will happily do that. So
thank
thank you
you.
really very much for your time,
Thank you.
and hope to keep in touch and
Let's keep in touch.
the best for you.
Thank you. You.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.